Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, and I'm so excited right now to share this news with you, folks. This is a complete banger. I have been waiting for something
Another edition
like
of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil
Johnson, and I'm dang. Okay, so George is in the background laughing because I got a special guest on tonight, folks. Because I saw this off of his X account, and that's what got me so jacked up about this. So do me a favor, you got to smash that like. You got to chat in with where you're from, folks. We got to get this out. Share this stream everywhere because this is like a celebration stream. I mean, in all reality, this is like the greatest news you're going to get all day. Okay, hands down, 100%, the best. I just got my notification, so we'll have a bunch more people jumping on. As that occurs, I do want to mention my sponsor really quickly. That's Mike Lindell, MyPillow, MyPillow.com. Promo code Lumberjack for the biggest savings on the best products. Folks, these percale sheets, $25. $25. Okay, it's ridiculous. Any size, any color. I mean, the Rev 7 energy drink. I love this stuff. I mean, I use it as a pre-workout. It is the best pre-workout drink I've ever had. So, plus he's got the kitchen and towel sale. He had all those big box store returns, folks. Go support Mike Lindell. Call the 800 number, 1-800. What is it? 1-800. I say this number all the time, and why am I forgetting it? 568-2865. 1-800-568-2865, folks. Again, make sure you get that out. I got to bring my guest, though, man. I'm going to remove this. And George. Oh, I'm excited.
Wow. I'm so excited. I don't blame you for being this excited because this is probably one of the big wins, I'd say, of this administration, if everything goes according to plan. But, Neil, I'm becoming a little bit pessimistic, when it comes to justice. Look, Democrats get on TV and they threaten violence and they call for people to go burn Teslas down and they don't get prosecuted. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go, but I think it's serious. The fact that it's the mortgage organization going after Leticia James.
Yeah, let's bring it right in here, George. I'm going to bring in from Trump War Room that tweet. Well, I've got actually a story queued up from Newsweek. I think we got to give people the background on this before we get into the criminal referral. So there is literally people. I'm not kidding. This is a criminal referral from one government agency to another about Leticia James, not a civil referral. Okay, this is what got me so excited about this. This is a criminal freaking referral. Now, one of these civil, we're gonna, try and get $100,000 out of the state of New York kind of crap. That's not what I want. I want I want Leticia James to go through the cuff treatment. I mean, seriously. Anyways, guys, welcome George into the stream. It's good to have him back on. He has been on in a while, George. What have you been up to, man? You just disappeared.
Just been up to stuff, Neil. Just been up to stuff.
Okay, let's bring people up to speed, though. So I covered this the other day. If you didn't catch it, newly discovered documents alluding to the residence of New York Attorney General Leticia James could have potential legal ramifications, legal experts tell Newsweek. Newsweek reached out to James's office and the Department of Justice, Kathy Hochul's and the Department of Justice for comment. James, 66, has served as New York's Attorney General since 2019. The Democrat is the first African. I can't. She has gained notoriety in her various legal battles against President Donald Trump and his family, notably a New York judge's ruling in 2024 ordering then former President Trump to pay a $454 million civil fraud judgment after James sued him for falsely inflating the value of his property. And this is why this is so good, because she is, folks, she's cheating with real estate. Okay. Now, this can go one of two ways. You get tax advantages for what she's doing. You also get mortgage advantages. So let's go into this.
Yeah, if the interest rate you would have gotten was 7%, and you say certain things on the documents, and it's 4.5%, that's a pretty big deal.
It's huge.
Yeah.
This is so. I'll pull the criminal referral out here for just a second. We're going to go over it, folks. But I worked in the mortgage industry, George. I don't know if you know this. But back during the housing crisis of 2008, 9, 10, whatever, all the crap hit the fan. I remember going to a mortgage office one week and seeing the FBI in their office the next week. And what was going on was
in the office you worked in?
No, not the office I worked in. At the time, I was selling to the mortgage industry at this point, and I was selling training to them. And I heard a guy, he talked to me afterwards. He was bragging about 10-pointing a customer. So there's only 3 ways to make money in mortgage lending. You make it on fees, okay, which are like the appraisal fees, whatever. You can tack on all this extra charges. Then there's the actual origination fee, and then there's what's called yield spread premium, and that's the money you make on the backside of the loan for charging a bigger interest rate long term. Right. That's why you can do zero closing cost loans, because they make it up on yield spread premium. So guys, there's nothing free in this world. If you're doing a loan with somebody and it's zero closing costs, you're just paying more in interest. Okay, that's how that works. So if you charge a quarter point more on the backside of the loan to the consumer, you make a point. That type of thing. It could be an eighth of a point, make a point, whatever. It just depends on the situation. And then they have what we're called liar loans, where they did stated income, stated assets, all this kind of stuff. Well, this is basically what Leticia James is up to. She's doing a liar loan, and this is what's getting her in trouble. Her flat hash would go to prison. He knew anyhow. But let's just bring this in, George. Why don't I let you just talk about this a little bit, since you were the one I found it. You had reposted this on X, so talk a little bit about this.
Well, if you want to zoom in, I can read, so we don't even have to talk about it. We just read off the list here. So, pursuant to my authority as director of the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency, I am referring the matter below. As regulator of Fannie Mac, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Home Loan Banks, we take very seriously allegations of mortgage fraud or other criminal activity. Such misconduct jeopardizes the safety and soundness of FAFA's regulated entities and the security and stability of the... Okay, that's all garbage. Okay, based on media reports, Miss Leticia James has, in multiple instances, this is not just one time, falsified bank documents, falsification of business records, and property records to acquire government-backed assistance and loans and more favorable loan terms. This has potentially included falsifying residence status for a Norfolk, Virginia-based home in order to secure a lower mortgage rate. And 2, misrepresenting property descriptions to meet stringent requirements for government-backed loans and government assistance.
Okay, so that's it. I think it should be noted here, George, there was a previous case where she was overstating mortgage values too. Okay, so that is not even mentioned in this. So I think they need another criminal referral in that case. This is specifically dealing with the 604 Sterling Street, Norfolk, Virginia property, where she has said that she has stated on here, she's signed that she was going to be a resident so she could get the favorable mortgage rate. Okay.
Yeah, so first of all, she's the Attorney General of New York. So her lawful legal residence can't be anywhere other than New York. One would reasonably expect, right?
Well, no, it has to be New York. That's by New York law. I mean, I read the law in another stream. She has got to live in New York. For this loan, she has to live in Virginia. Just quick, folks, you can't claim residency in 2 states. That's not how this deal works.
You really can't. But yeah, obviously this is major, considering she forced Trump to, finance the bond, which was $450 million, just to appeal the case about falsifying business records. The 34 counts of falsification of business records, the only felony, quote unquote, because nothing happened after that quote unquote felony, to Trump's name. That's the only felony that Democrats attached to him. It's the only thing they could get him on. Fannie Willis's case failed. Alvin Bragg's case, I guess, that was a felony too, but that was always garbage. Everyone knew it was garbage.
Yes.
But yeah, Neil, what you have here is a woman who prosecuted a man for falsifying business records. And it turns out she was doing the exact same thing she was prosecuting him for. I call them projectocrats, Democrats who project upon you what they are or project upon you what they are doing. They accuse you of doing what the very things that they are doing secretly. And the question is Pam Bondi going to take this seriously? That's the question. Is she going to actually do what needs to be done? Is she going to take Leticia James to court? Is she going to put her on trial and have a jury of her peers? I guess a jury of her peers would be people that look like Chris Christie, 400 pounds and above. because those are her peers. So the question then is, will Pam Bondi take this seriously? And to be honest with you, Neil, I unfortunately got it right when I said Trump was hiring a lot of department heads that were good at talking on TV. Bondi is one of those. She's very good at articulating herself on Fox News. But I wonder if she has the grit and the determination necessary to take someone like Leticia James to trial. Because the DOJ could be like, oh, just a misunderstanding, you know, and just not want to get the political, you know, optics of, you know, Trump getting in power and going after someone who went after him. I feel like Pam might just take the safe route and ignore this. But I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. I want Leticia James in jail, just like everyone else, just like you, Neil. But I don't know. Are we going to get Leticia? Well, you know, just at the very least, do a fine. You know, take her to some kind of court where she has to pay a fine. Just do it.
No, I 100%. I don't want her fined, George. Look,
I don't want her fined either.
People, this is, see, here's my problem with this, and you know, we're going to get into this just a little bit more, just to show you the Exhibit A and whatnot. But people understand this: if the people who wield the law can break it this flagrantly, then what do we have?
Lawlessness.
Complete lawlessness.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't a constitutional republic if you know, you can have these lawbreakers. I mean, she's the AG, the Attorney General of New York. She's taking a man to trial saying he falsified business records on a commercial loan. Okay, I make this clear. This is a commercial loan. It is not government-backed loan.
Exactly.
All home loans are government-backed loans. That's why they get these favorable rates.
And you would think, oh, if it's a government loan, then it was a lot more scrutinized than a commercial loan. But that's not true. I mean, commercial real estate firms pay millions to, you know, people to underwrite deals, to check literally every detail. So if anyone actually could have gotten away with it, it was Leticia James, because she was just doing a government loan. And it's one of those things where, you know, her name pops up in the system and some, you know, random bureaucrat just says yes, or sometimes it's just a machine that says yes. But with this situation, I think the fact that she is the Attorney General of New York and she's breaking the law so blatantly is why I'm so pessimistic about something coming out of this. I know I'm usually the one going, wow, she's going to jail. But I don't see Pam Bondi doing it, unfortunately.
Okay, hold on 1 second, George. Okay, so I get you. But this is that, understand that I don't think that our Federal Housing Finance Agency would have made such a public show of this criminal referral if they didn't believe Bondi would do something. Now, the other thing with this is going back to this whole idea of,
you actually, Neil, do you, just for a second, do you think, first of all, I don't know if this is a felony or a misdemeanor. It has to be a felony. I mean,
well, it's
you're defrauding the government.
Yeah, it's falsifying mortgage records. I mean, this I believe, because it's a fraud charge and it deals with banking, this is completely a felony. Well, let's see here. Gene, thank you so much for that super sticker.
Hey,
okay,
someone
I
in the chat.
I want to know in the chat here, legitimately, folks. I know I've got a pretty pro-Trump audience. I think I know the bulk of you are going to answer this, but some people might see this differently because they're like, well, we don't want to see all this retribution back and forth.
I want to see that.
So I want to know, do you want Leticia James in jail or fined? What do you want, jail or fined?
She has to go to jail, because I mean, if our entire justice system is built on the idea that all men are created equal and they're to be treated the same before the law and to be given the same processes, then you can't excuse the Attorney General of New York for breaking a law and getting punishment that someone else, a normal citizen in New York, would get. If someone in New York broke this law and did what she did, they would go to jail. whether that's 30 days or 30 years, whatever. I don't know. No one's getting 30 years, but the point is, someone would go to jail if they did this and they were just a normal, everyday Joe. So Letitia, the attorney general, she's supposed to be someone, a representative of the legal system. She's supposed to be beyond reproach. Just the fact that she thought, oh man, I could just game the system by putting this information here. She knows the system better than anyone because she herself is a government official. The fact that it's her, she has to go to jail. But we live in a country where, quite frankly, I think if you're the attorney general of New York, you can kind of get away with crimes. And look, I wouldn't even blame Pam Bondi. I would blame her if she didn't.
I would. My God.
Yeah, I just said something. I would blame her if she didn't prosecute this, but I'm wondering if she would. You know, I just don't. You just don't know. Know.
I think the concern would always be, are we going to have retribution of government officials against each other? But that's not what this is about. I mean, Goldbar.
This is the crime that actually happened, and it needs to be prosecuted. But another thing I'm worried about is the DOJ cares a lot about their conviction rate. Are they really certain that if they take this case, let's say, I don't know if it's going to be held in a district court or a district, area in Virginia or
no. We're judge shopping this. I mean, turnabout's fair play, man. We're gonna let's judge shop this to the most conservative federal district in the land, one overseen by Clarence Thomas. What's that one?
Whoa, hold on, Neil. I love you, but let's just think this through. Jurisdiction matters, right?
I'm pissed, George. I don't.
Crime. Would you say the crime happened in Northern Virginia? I don't know where Norfolk is. Is it Northern Virginia?
The crime actually happened in New York. I mean,
yeah. Okay, let's say the crime happened in New York.
I mean,
wherever she lives.
But it's a federal crime. It's a federal crime.
It's a federal crime, but the jurisdiction is usually in the like the Southern District of New York or the Northern District of that's where it would be prosecuted, right? Bondi wouldn't hold the trial in DC. Even if she did that, we'd be screwed because DC is full of liberals, right? All the jurors would be liberals. So the question is, if you as the Attorney General of the United States go ahead and get a grand jury to issue an indictment, and then you go through discovery and months of that, and then you take her to trial, do we trust that 3 black liberals on a jury would agree with the majority that she's guilty? That's where I'm like, if Bondi didn't do it, it'd be like, but she should still do it.
100%. The process is the punishment. This would be covered in the news all over the place.
I don't.
And it would totally discredit.
Honestly, the thing I'm noticing with the media is the media the whole Signalgate story. I was so annoyed at how the media choked out every story and just blasted that out and made it the story in the world. You turn on every little piece of. You'd go on Fox, they were talking about it, but from a different angle. MSNBC, they were talking. NBC, the corporate media has they have a stranglehold on what they want people to focus on. Now, of course, voices like yourself, you're battling through that matrix, just dodging their bullets and making sure people keep their eye on the prize.
But this is a great comment, George. Kiss the sky. Bongino didn't quit the big money to push paper. That's for sure. One of the things that I actually have hope in is that, Dan Bongino gave up. He's I don't know, George. He's making $20-30 million a year running his show.
Definitely.
And for him to give up that kind of money to take this job, he's got to be doing it for public service. And
also long term. I mean, Dan Bongino was an owner of Rumble, like a partial owner, and going and leaving Rumble to go to the FBI, it certainly didn't help his shares. So Dan Bongino, I have faith that he's there for the right reasons. I'm a little disappointed that they're giving promotions to all the doofuses over the last few years.
Yes.
I think that's why there are hundreds of thousands of patriots across the country who are qualified to lead some of these offices. There are lawyers or prosecutors across the country who can lead, the field office in Washington, D.C. or Richmond. These are important roles because those guys get to decide how competent that division of the FBI is going to be when a criminal case comes up or an investigation comes up. I don't know why Cash or Dan Bongino are sitting there giving promotions to literal traitors, right? People that were calling for J6ers to be, treated like garbage, like terrorists. I don't understand why. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they see something in those people that we don't, and that those people themselves have not demonstrated to the public, but we'll see.
Hey, it's Veteran Biker. It's Ben. Look at that. And Rumble sucks. He did a live today. He worked with that guy who got kicked out of the Pentagon today. he has to work with him. It's wild.
Cardwell, right? Cardwell?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, that whole story is.
I got to get back to this story. I want to cover this. Just people on.
I came here to blackpill you, Neil. I came here.
I'm bringing this back in, George.
No, this is good. This is very good. This is the first step of something very important. And
yes, so here we go. I'm back to this. I got to read this quick, George. Yeah. 604 Sterling Street, Norfolk, Virginia. On August 17th, 2023, Ms. James granted Ms. Shamise Thompson Hairston power of attorney to make a Virginia property her principal residence in Virginia again. Now, I think, actually, do you know what I think was going on here, George? This is my theory. I want to see it. Just tell me if you agree, and then I'll read the rest of this. I think she was promised. She thought that Joe Biden was going to be able to take it again. Kamala Harris, I should say, at that point. And she was going to be getting a job in D.C. That's why she was getting a place in Virginia.
Like what? As Attorney General of the United States?
Potentially. She was going to fill some sort of position like that. And I think she had a promise for that. And I think she actually thought that they could swipe it again. So on August 30th and 31st, through her attorney, Ms. James purchased this property in Norfolk, Virginia, in a Fannie Mae Freddie Mac Form 3047, and in mortgage documents, she reaffirmed this would be her primary residence, despite being a statewide public office holder in the state of New York at the same time, and primarily residing in the state of New York. So this was during the Trump trial. She was in New York all the time because of the Trump trial. Not only that, hold on one second. Not only that, she had already filed papers at that point, earlier in the year, to run again for the Attorney General of New York, meaning that if she was going to run for Attorney General, that's why I'm saying she had a promise. She thought she was going to be residing in Virginia and working with Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there. But let me just add this, Neil. The regulators at Fannie Mac and May that were approving this, they should go to jail too, because they obviously knew who Leticia James would have been. And if they didn't, they should have done their research because she applied for something.
Hold on. I having written loans, this is what's called DULP, direct underwriting. So this is all computer-driven approvals. Now, the mortgage lender themselves would have known, but that doesn't mean anybody processing this on the. So mortgages are sold on the secondary market. This is how mortgages work. Okay. So if I write a loan, let's say for like my bank up here in northern Minnesota is Northview Bank. If I write a loan that qualifies for secondary mortgage rates, which is what hers was because she was claiming it as a primary residence, not a second residence. Okay. She also gets tax advantages because if it's her primary residence, she can write off the interest on her taxes. Okay. So that's another benefit she gets by lying like this. And there's a whole bunch of them. But anyways, so when that loan is written, it goes through a computerized underwriting process. If there's any red flags, then people look at it more closely. But the mortgage lender that's taking that application is vouching that this information that they have is correct. And it goes through the direct underwriting process. It goes out to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or the correspondent bank. So banks will either write the loan and underwrite it themselves, or it has to go out to another bank that underwrites. Okay.
Right.
Which might be the Bank of Des Moines, let's say. And so then they write it up here at Northview. The underwriting bank is Bank of Des Moines. And then that bank that wrote it can either service it or not. But the paper is all guaranteed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Right.
Okay. But that underwriting process, there's no saying that anybody would have known who she was or seen it or anything of the sort. At that point.
I guess Joe Biden built that computer because that computer couldn't tell This lady, the Attorney General of New York. Jeez.
So it goes on. In fact, a building permit issued on her New York property on July 15, 2024 lists her New York property as the James residence and states remain occupied. Okay. So primary residence mortgages receive more favorable loans. We already talked about that. Okay.
Neil, you might know this, but can you hire someone to break the law on your behalf?
Well,
or is it just going to count as you breaking the
you
law?
breaking the law.
Right.
I mean, but the other person would be involved. They'd be an accessory to the crime.
Yeah. Wouldn't that person that had the power of attorney, wouldn't she also be in trouble here? Because she
should also be in trouble. Yes. But understand this, even though this lady was given power of attorney, because I went into this the other day, the power of attorney wasn't the one who said that this was going to be her primary residence.
Exactly.
James signed off on that herself.
Right.
So, she has falsified bank documents and property records to acquire government-backed assistance. This is based on media reports and loans. So I covered this story. I know others did too. See, folks, this is why I tell you, it's like stories like this. The reason you share these, okay, I get this because I get frustrated doing this sometimes, George. I don't know if you get frustrated doing this, but I do. I get frustrated doing this work sometimes because I'm like, it seems like nothing's ever happening and nothing's ever changing. And I get black-pilled like you. So, I try not to, but it happens.
It comes with melanin.
Yeah, that's why I say smash the like button, share the stream, because the more you can get this news at the top of the public's mind, okay, the better chance we have. Because again, this is based on media reports. This person, okay, and so who did this? The criminal referral came from U.S. Federal Housing, who's the actual person? Well, whoever it is.
Pulte? I don't know how to say his name. He's the guy Trump picked for that role.
Yes. So, but the reason he knows about this is because of media reports.
Right. So he had to just double check it and realize that this is what happened. She defrauded the government.
Yes. So do you guys understand why then that becomes important to then get that information out there? So we create this megaphone because eventually it drifts back. Like President Trump has seen George's posts on X. I know that for a fact. It's just a reality. And I would wager that, some of my videos, people in the Trump administration, I know actually people in the Trump administration have seen some of my videos. So and then that puts their radar on it. So then they can go out and do something about it. So that's it's a good thing that they're listening, right? That people like Dan Bongino are paying attention, like Mr. Polt here paying attention. But it's kind of disappointing that with some of the major stories that you would think they have their eyeballs on, they still need to find it on his tweets on X. Yeah. I think that's because I mean, there are stories. Well, the story with this was before the election that I thought was really interesting, where it was in Georgia, similar area to where Laken Riley lost her life to an illegal alien. And this was like a similar story where another thing happened. Yes.
And a friend of mine, like a creator friend of mine who lives in Georgia, saw it on local news and he texted it to me. And at that point, it wasn't confirmed whether the person that perpetrated the crime was 100% illegal. So he and I did some digging. He did most of the digging. And he was just looking at all the sources. And one of the state senators in Georgia said, yeah, this guy's illegal. And the sheriff said, yeah, there's no records of him. He's definitely an illegal. And I posted the story. It went berserk. And then, right away, of course, the Trump team, they were like, oh, this is a good campaign story. But I'm like, man, imagine if they were paying attention to the level they needed to be paying attention, because they would have known that story and investigated it in 5 different ways way beforehand.
But the reason I think, George, and this is why I give them a lot of grace on this, because there's too much to know. You can't know it all. Just think in terms of there's a gal I follow on X. I think you follow her too, Jennifer Asper, and she covers great. I like she is such a great aggregator for election stories, but that's like what she hones in on, and because she can't know everything that's going on at the CCOT in El Salvador, because she's focused on election, and she wouldn't be able to get to all the election stuff if she was just focused on that. So at some point, you have to have somebody who runs with the story, who's got a following, who amplifies it, and then it gets out.
Yeah, I suppose that's how. Yeah.
So we're all in this together, is what I'm saying, George. You know, this. I mean,
what I want is a perp walk for Leticia James.
Amen.
They're going to probably need to order cuffs that are 2x her hands because she's fat. Look, I just want to see a perp walk. I want to see her be thrown in jail, and I want to see her have a bond set on her head. I want to see someone on her team pay the bond. But, I just don't see that happening for the Attorney General of New York. I think it's one of those things that, like, even if they did get to that point, they wouldn't even perp walk her.
They wouldn't have seen it for the president of the United States before, and it happened, George. So you have to
but it depends on the cojones our team has, because I feel like the closer we get to 2022 and the midterms and the conversation around that, the less radical some of the policies are going to be. Right? DOJ is going to slow down. DOJ went from we're going to root out 2 trillion or 1 trillion from the deficit to 150 billion. And I'm like, I wanted that to be a little higher, guys.
Yeah.
Right. Congress, we needed them to cut, a lot of programs. And now they're saying we'll only make these cuts. They're relying on President Trump's tariffs to raise revenues so they can cut taxes and have the budget balanced. I love that. But we have a lot of welfare programs that need cutting that we could cut and save a lot of money and not have to raise anyone's taxes. So I think it's one of those things where, yes, I want to see her get arrested, but is Pam Bondi, is president, are they willing to, risk the optics of arresting? Let's play the left's game for a second. A black woman attorney general, the first one ever in New York. Are they risking that optic? I hope at the very least they do. I hope so.
Yeah, I think.
But it's the same thing with the mass deportations.
Oh, we're not deporting people.
I'm unbelievably frustrated with that right now, because now President Trump's saying, I don't know who to blame. Do I blame Congress for not having funding? Well, we're going to see in a few months when they do approve the spending package. How much border stuff and deportation stuff are they going to fund? So we don't know if we're blaming Congress yet. Do we blame the strategy? I don't think the strategy is wrong. I thought getting out the criminals first is great. Like, that's what you do. You get out the most dangerous ones, and then you get out the rest. But now it seems like I'm hearing that, hey, we're going to pay them to leave and then pay their flights out, and then we'll process them back in, because corporations want cheap labor. That's what it is. These third world illegal aliens would prefer the kinds of jobs and the kinds of lifestyles that these corporations are willing to purchase for them. So I guess the farming corporations, the construction industry, they are lobbying the White House very bigly right now, attempting to keep these migrants here. And Trump's saying, all right, look, let's get them out voluntarily, right? And then we'll process them back in. I pray it's like a giant scheme where they go out and you just don't ever bring them back in. But I don't really know how that's going to play out, right? But it's like, we should have been deporting. We should be rounding them up and putting them in buses and trains, anything we can do to get them out, instead of like, hey, please come register with the government, and then please take this check, and then please take this flight, and then we'll bring you back in. I don't think that's what I wanted.
No, I know, George. We all get frustrated with the speed of things. I mean, especially when we had so much momentum and this fraud was being exposed so well by DOJ, and I want things to happen faster.
I guess the main problem is it's not just, you have what like 15 million people that came in the 4 years, if I'm wrong, or it might be 10 million, it might be 20 million, it might be
Depends
40.
on the numbers you're listening to. I mean, there's some people say there's 20 million illegals, some say 30. I think it's actually the higher number, George. And
30.
yeah. And do you know what I think? Not in the last 4 years, at 30 million total.
Oh, just in general. Oh, yeah, you might be right about that. Go ahead.
And I think what needs to happen, and I guess, I mean, what I want to see, we have a not enough housing supply in this country. We have real issues with inflation and housing and all this. Take 30 million people out of the system. What happens? Housing becomes available.
Yeah.
And now finally our
counter argument is that then you'll have a labor shortage, and
there'll be enough homes.
Yeah, things will stop working.
Yeah,
you're right. The point you're making is actually stronger. If we do actually have a labor shortage and all these things, at the very least, homes are going to be affordable. So now people do, so there's going to be an incentive to work because you can actually afford to buy a house for the first time in decades. So your point is actually very strong. Let's say we just take out 5 million people, or 10 million. 10 million is good. Let's say we take out 10 million, or let's say we don't actually. Let me do this point. You don't take out 10 million people that came in illegally in the 4 years, or 15 million. Well, they're eventually going to gain some kind of legal status, or their kids are going to gain legal status. And now that's an extra few million people that Social Security has to cover, which means the current people that are here legally paying taxes are now burdened by a few more millions of people, which means we can't ever cut anything out of the government because it's just going to keep growing and growing. The population grows in all the wrong ways. And it's not like a lot of these illegals are getting like doctorate jobs and PhDs. They're not doing that. They're not civil engineers. They're getting like very low-hanging jobs where they pay very little taxes, and they're willing to live in, 2-bedroom apartments, all 10 of them. That's the problem. The problem is that the system is overloaded already, and now you're just adding more weight to it. On top of that, the country's in debt, which means if you're going to spend all this money on these new people, the budget's just going to keep running out of control, which means, and by the way, a lot of people aren't paying attention to this, but 9.2 trillion in debt will mature at the end of this year. That's why I think there was kind of a deliberate strategy to pressure the markets a little bit.
Yes.
So, and
all asset classes need to come down. I've been saying this for a long time. All asset classes need to come down because people can't afford homes. The stock market is inflated above historic price to earnings ratios. The only thing that actually doesn't need to fall is gold and silver in terms of if you look at historical trends. Everything else needs to come down. And there's, it's ridiculous. I got to mention, George, have you tried this yet? Have you tried this Rev 7 energy drink from My Pillow?
I don't drink energy drinks.
Oh,
I'm sure if you drink them, that's why you get so much energy with the Leticia James getting arrested. Was that just the concept of her getting arrested, or was that just the next generation of energy drinks fueling you to the point where you had no choice but to log on to a live stream with 10 minutes notice to introduce to the people Leticia James getting packed up to jail?
No, I'm telling you, man, she's going to be wishing she had this to help give her some mental focus and clarity. I mean, this stuff is awesome, George. You should give Mike a call, get some, because you can save up to 30% with promo code Lumberjack. It's 20% on the regular site. We also have still the $25 any sheets, any size. We got this. There's so many great deals going on there, folks. Mike needs your support. He's always getting brutally attacked. So go check that out at mypillow.com/lumberjack. My favorite way is order with the 800 number, 1-800-568-2865. I tried it actually before my last workout. I had the best workout of my life. I love that stuff.
Neil, so Fannie Willis got charged thousands for ignoring public records request and Freedom of Information Act's request in Georgia, right? So
54,000, right? 54, I think was the number.
Yeah, it was like 50 plus, right? And that's a substantial amount of money. I thought it was a great thing that the court actually decided to do that. That's something I didn't think they would do. She's the attorney general of the biggest county of the most important county in Georgia. You would not imagine they would go and make such a bold step. I thought it was great. And now Leticia James is getting referrals on her name. She's the Attorney General of New York. You know, if just one of these people goes down, right, and they are forced to face the consequences of their own criminality. Like Fannie lied in court. She just blatantly perjured herself when she and Nathan Wade said their relationship ended in like 2023 or 2024. I don't know when they said it ended, but we know it didn't end because there was a picture and a video of them like a month ago hanging out in an airport, going on another one of their trips to Napa Valley to go drink some wine on taxpayers' dollars. You know, go to their cabin and do whatever they do to each other. I don't know. I don't know what they do, but they lied to the court. They perjured themselves. I don't know why any of the defendants in that RICO case haven't filed for a motion to, you know, arrest her for perjury because she said the relationship was over. And next thing you know, she's rubbing his bald head at a terminal at an airport in Atlanta. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, it's one of those things. You just get one of these people goes down. That's it, right? It's like how we were saying they need to ignore one of these court rulings.
We got breaking news, George.
What's the breaking news?
Check this out. I don't know why that's coming through so funny. Why is that coming through so funny here?
Is it good news?
It's another Pentagon leaker has been identified.
Oh, the other fat guy.
Yeah, check this out. I didn't know that. This just came out, 40 minutes ago here.
To you, breaking news is something that came out like 3 hours ago. it's breaking now.
Just in, 41 minutes ago, second Pentagon official, Deputy Chief of Staff Darren Selnick suspended and escorted out of the building in the leaks probe. So you got two leakers out of the Pentagon.
I'm kind of confused, to be honest, Neil, because I don't know what they were leaking at the Pentagon, because it's not the Signal Gate thing. That was all Mike Waltz. Yeah. But what are they leaking? Are they leaking like war plans, or strikes? I don't know what they're leaking specifically. Can you key me in on that? Because I honestly didn't know there was a leaks probe of anything.
The leaks under scrutiny involve sensitive military plans, including operations related to the Panama Canal, deployment of a second aircraft carrier to the Red Sea, a visit by Elon Musk to the Pentagon, and the reported pause in intelligence collection for Ukraine.
Oh, so all those stories that I was putting breaking to, those were all leaks. I didn't realize we weren't supposed to know that. But I guess, this is interesting.
So, wow.
I
don't know what's going on over there at the Pentagon. I mean, it kind of, you question then what kind of, I don't know. There's always leaks in Washington, so I'm not going to drag Pete Hegseth through the mud over this. The most self-interested group of people on the face of God's green earth all live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and a lot of these people, they've never had different jobs in their lives, and this is probably the best job they've ever had. They've always been in politics. They worked for some congressman maybe, and now they're finally, at the DOJ, and they're in the ear of one of the most important cabinet positions in the country. And so, they naturally feel a sense of power. And whenever a reporter goes, "Do you know anything that we don't?" They're like, "Yeah, I do." Yeah. And if the reporter's hot enough, I'm guessing they'll text the information right away and, see if they can make some babies in the future. Right? They exchange secrets for potential mating. I don't know. This is what happens in Washington, D.C. Just the prospect of being the guy that other people go to for information that they don't know. Being privy to stuff does tend to inflate your ego. Maybe that's what this is, right? You have these guys just, texting reporters like, "Yes, we're going to send a Navy carrier strike group to the Red Sea." And I don't know what they thought would be gained by saying that and sending those things to reporters. But you're talking about the deputy chief of staff and the chief of staff himself, right? If I'm not mistaken, or was it like a guy that was like, up there?
Well, no, it wasn't the chief of staff. It was the one was Pete Hegseth's advisor,
Oh, just advisor. Okay, and then this is the deputy chief
of staff. That's kind of a big position there.
Why do we have so many roles? I mean, if you have a chief of staff as the defense secretary, why do you need a deputy chief of staff for, like, just have that chief of staff do all the work? I mean, it's like, some of these titles are just for glamour. They just make like $100,000 or $200,000 a year, and they don't do anything. They're just there.
Do you know who I have liked and other people thought was just so bad? And I never came out and was bashing on her. I was trying to figure it all out. Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles has proven to be like one of the most competent White House chief of staffs of all time. Okay, she has done a great job.
Yeah, I don't. It depends on how long. You know,
she's been very loyal to Trump too.
Because I don't know how to judge positions like that, because we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They might all be screaming at each other, but clearly none of that's leaking. But there are still a significant amount of leaks
screaming at each other. But the reality is, like, within Trump's team, there's not leaks. You know, like when you get right there, we don't have a bunch of leaks going on right in the inner circle, and that's the thing that was so damaging to Trump in the first term. Just constant leaks, constant shills, constant pathetic people. So
yeah, but like you said earlier, which is true, you know, it's Washington. It's just the town you're in.
Yeah, it's
like, you know, leaks. Neil Johnson's coming to do a podcast. Quick, tell him that the military is about to bomb Iran. And then now you just got someone fired.
George, speaking of that, you and I, we need to go back out to DC.
You know, DC petrified me. You know, I've never been in a place where it just felt like your soul was getting sucked out of you. But that's just my excuse. That's my excuse for not wanting to go back. It was actually, it was cool meeting some of the congressmen.
Yeah, we should go back out there and do some stuff though on the ground in DC. I mean, I don't want to be out there all the time, but we got to go.
Well, I probably have to wait till next February, right? Because that's when they do their other Black people event. So that way I can get invited to the White House. I hope so. You know, one of these days they'll be like, "Hey, we have a non-Black related event. Please come out." I haven't even gotten invited to the Black events. I don't know what's going on. You know, the skin color is not helping me these days, man.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna do like that Black like me thing, and I'm gonna get all black. You're
gonna self-cancel and do blackface. Great, congratulations! You just got monetized, and now look at you. Now look at what you're planning to do.
Oh man, folks, thanks for joining us. George has got to go to the gym. I don't want to keep him too long. George, I guess I'm going to give you the final word, but folks, thanks so much for tuning in, listening to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I love you people. Keep fighting the good fight. Subscribe if you're new. George, give me your parting thoughts. Don't blackpill them. Give them something good.
Well, I'm not here to blackpill anyone. I'm just here to at least, you know, give you my analysis. I really want Leticia James to go to jail. I want disclosure on a lot of things, and I want a lot of people to go to jail. I want James Comey to go to jail. I want John Brennan to go to jail. I want Chris Krebs to go to jail. I mean,
who's that big pervo in the Clinton? Podesta.
Yeah, John Podesta, all of them, right? He had the picture of Bill Clinton with the thing on. I don't know. I just want all these people to go to jail, or just half of them, or just one, you know? We'll see what happens. I hope Pam Bondi has cojones. I love that she's talkative and gets on Fox News and tells us what she's feeling. But I just wish she wasn't doing that every day. Neil, I kid you not. Someone tweeted this, and I was like, oh, there's no way this is true. They tweeted, oh, Pam Bondi's so busy doing Fox News interviews. She should do her job. I was like, and they said all the time. She's on there all the time. I was like, come on, not all the time. In my mind, I was like, let me just debunk this by going on Fox News, because I knew Laura Ingraham was on. And lo and behold, Laura Ingraham was right. Pam Bondi was right there talking about something she was going to do and not doing. So, but yeah, we just want, look, Christy Nome too. Again,
I was going to bring it up, but you did.
We look, Christy, I don't have any problems with you, but I'm gonna need you to stop, letting your hair out, doing your makeup, and holding guns at ICE raids to pretend like you're an agent. It's not a joke. We need deportations, and you're wasting time doing these videos about how, don't come to the country if you're illegal. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, the border's sealed. Now we just need ICE to do their jobs, but you're over there, distracting them. That's what you're doing, right? But I think if I had to grade the administration, Stephen Miller is my favorite because that guy wants to deport anything that moves. I love that guy. Right?
Stephen Miller, he's the best. Like, he's the best.
Stephen Miller will find a legal defense that is so obsolete, so antiquated, just to defend a deportation. One deportation makes that man. I love him. I like that guy. I like Howard Lutnick. Tariffs. I love him. I love his tariff strategy. I love Scott Bessent. I think his 3-3-3 plan is smart. 3% growth, 3% revenue, blah, blah, blah. It's all great, right? Trump gets an A+, of course. But some of the other people, the Kristi Noems, the Pam, I just need you to do different things. Just less TV, more job.
But George, we talked about this beforehand. So, like with Kristi Noem, and I just think it becomes too much. It becomes kind of laughable.
It's like a laughing stock now. Like ICE is supposed to be serious. Those guys are supposed to separate families at the border. Like that's their job.
No, they're supposed to keep them together and deport them all. But anyways,
that's their job. Like Tom Homan gave them a very serious job.
That's the point. Tom Homan. Right, and you and I talked about this beforehand when she got that position, but Tom Homan was going to be the one doing the real work, and she was the face for Fox News.
Well, the problem is both of them are the face for Fox News because I don't mind Homan going on TV because he's the border czar. His job is to set the tone and motivate the troops on the ground. Noem, her job is similar, right? They are supposed to go on TV. They are TV talking heads, but don't wear makeup. Right, and have your hair down. That's a safety hazard. Have your gun pointed at the agent next to you. And I think her finger might have been on the trigger too. I don't know these. I don't remember. But it's like
trigger control wheel.
Just like you could do your thing, right? You could do your job. Go on TV, but please don't go join ICE raids because it's not like she did it once and then now we're all angry. No, this is like the 50th time she's done it in the last 3 months. She goes on these raids. She was on a horse in Texas pretending to be a Border Patrol agent. Kristi, again, you're not a Border Patrol agent. Just go there, tell them they're doing a good job, apologize for the horse, striking thing, and just move on. Come back to Washington, go to Congress, do a testimony, lie about how much we're deporting, and that's it.
She's got a hunting video on YouTube, right? It pops into my feed because I watch hunting videos. Okay, and
she can. She's better than you.
Shooting a moose. But George, it's like exactly how I don't hunt. It's like you go out with a guide who puts you on the animal and you pull the trigger. I mean, it's all of it's just too much for me.
What did she do with the hunting one? What, she had a guide?
Yeah, she has and a lot of people take guides out hunting. That's not my point. But the point is,
this is how I should do it then if I ever did it.
I'm your guide, George. By the way,
of course.
And I've already told you, and everybody I know, people I saw.
Neil, I'm not. Neil, look,
you're going elk hunting, man.
Neil, I'm not going no elk hunt. Let me just say this. Let me say this, right? I know people are gonna say I'm not a man of my word, blah blah blah. But let me just say this. When you do your hunting, you don't do it like everyone else. Don Jr. does hunting, and he's still tweeting, posting videos. You do hunting, and you disappear for 2 weeks. I don't know what happened to you. I'll call your phone. You're somewhere so obsolete in the middle of nowhere. You're in places with no names on the map, right? Not even any city wants to claim that spot. You're there, and you want me to be there with you in the woods for 2 weeks, up to a month, just looking for that one elk. Yeah. You remind me of Desmond Dawes in that movie. Lord, please help me just get one more. That's what you're in the woods. You see one elk, you shoot it, you miss. Lord, just help me get one more. You're there for 5 years, just going back and forth, trying to find that one animal. And by the time you know it, you come back and the country's blue again. You just don't know. Neil, you almost went hunting and mail-in ballots. Like the time you went hunting, mail-in ballots started. And by the time you came back, I don't think the election had even gotten there. It was like the whole month, you know, the 2 months of an election. So I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you don't have to go that long, George.
No, I'm going to the gym. I don't want to have this conversation.